Hello everyone, my name is Ark and welcome back to another SH Figuarts review. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the premium Bandai exclusive Full Power Frieza. I am so happy that this guy is finally here and I have him in my collection. He was an instant purchase of mine. Surprisingly, he was like on pre-order for like around 3 to 5 months, I think. So he did not sell out, so you probably had the chance to get him. If you didn't get him, you probably will be able to from like any import site like Nin Game or Hobby Genki, especially now that he's fully out. So, without further ado, let's get him out and see what he comes with. Alright, so here we have the one and only Full Power Frieza in all of his beefy glory, because my god is this dude jacked. And honestly, I gotta tell you, he looks absolutely fantastic. He looks so freaking good already. It is insane how well the sculpt for this figure looks. Here's the actual trademark for the figure. And everything else looks amazing. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the height. This guy does seem to be pretty accurate. He stands at about 5 inches all the way to the top of his noggin. And this is how he compares to the Super Saiyan Goku in terms of height. This Goku is giving me a little bit of trouble standing. Don't know why, but come on. There you go. So that's how they look side by side, and honestly, I think they will look absolutely fantastic in the collection together, especially when they're in a diorama type of environment. So again, beautiful figure all together already. So especially with the shiny blue, purple sections, they made them very glossy, not metallic glossy, but glossy nonetheless. Very nice. And he has veins actually sculpted into the figure, which is awesome. While the damage, like the battle damage, is not necessarily painted in or brushed through, he still has it throughout the entire figure. So I'm just gonna bring it up right there. Battle damage here, here, here. He pretty much, I can't speak. He pretty much has the exact same amount of battle damage as the Super Saiyan Goku. So it looks so good. Now, the one thing that they actually did for this guy that they didn't do for Goku was shade the entire body with a very faint light blue hue, which honestly looks so good in my opinion. I think the best way to actually show it right there. You can kind of see it on the crevices if the light just focuses on me. Right there where my thumb is, you can see some of the actual light blue paint. It is found everywhere throughout the body, so they did not cheap out on this figure whatsoever. Now, I will say the only downside is that the actual hue that's found throughout the body, the shading and everything, is not on like the wrists, the wrist guards, and also the shin guards as well. So that's the only downside, but also on the actual head. It's not on the head whatsoever. None of the faces or head sculpts have any of that blue, light blue shading, so kind of sucks because it kind of does differentiate it a little bit, especially when you have them, when you have this thing on display. It's not going to be that noticeable, but it's something to just take into account when you're going to pose them and all that kind of stuff. So do be sure to sort of get them in a good lit situation. And something I will say, just looking at the box doesn't show that much shading. There's a lot more shading on the figure than there is on the box. So this is like the opposite of what they normally do, where like they show the shading on the box of like the renders of the figure, but the actual figure doesn't have any shading. This is, on the other hand, the renders don't have any shading, but the actual figure does. At least from my knowledge. I'm just trying to look at this figure. Yeah, like there is no shading whatsoever. So whoever decided to add that shading last minute, thank you. It actually helps out a lot more. I'm hitting my camera every single time I do that. So now, let's move on to the articulation, because I heard this guy has some pretty good darn articulation. So with the head looking down, you can look down all the way to his man titties, which is awesome. If I can get a good focus. So man titty look down, you can do that if you wanted to. You can look up about that far. If you kind of push it a little bit too much, you might get some resistance. And yes, there is a big giant gap for the neck, which does suck. But most of the time, I don't think you're going to have him look up that much, like probably this far ahead. So he can swivel his head side to side and tilt it with a pivot. And of course, you can use the neck to kind of like play around with it. You might get it stuck on like some of these sections right here on like the traps and everything. So do be careful when handling this figure. For the shoulders, they are like the same mechanism shoulders that they normally use, where it's like the giant hinge on the inside, but you can still move them around with a peg and like a ball peg. So that's awesome. So they can go about perfect T-pose for this guy, in my opinion. So those look great. Now, he does have butterfly joints, but I don't think they're going to work the greatest because his boobs, his man titties or alien titties, are too darn big. Frieza, you're packing in the heat. Like, something that they did for Goku is they actually cut out some of the chest to get that better articulation. They did not do that with Frieza, so that's kind of a bummer because some inconsistencies between the two figures that should have been released towards the same quality needed that. So again, just a slight cut on the actual chest would have been great, so you can get that better range of movement, because you can't get any. Like, you can barely get the actual hands all together unless you put them all the way to the top. So yeah. Now for the bicep swivel, so he does have a bicep swivel that you can rotate side to side. It's very similar to Broly's. I think it is almost like Broly's. Maybe, yeah, you can do it 360 degrees if you wanted to. There is like no paint that you need to worry about scratching, besides one section that I will get into. And of course, he has a double jointed elbow, but because of how beefy he is, you won't get much better range than maybe a little bit better than 90. So yeah, and of course, you have your wrist pegs and hinges. So basic articulation so far, so not too bad yet. For the ab crunch, this is where you might want to be careful from time to time. This little thing, the little chest piece, purple piece, it goes back and forth. It's on a hinge, but it doesn't go forward that much. So it goes about that much in terms of range. You can see like the little gap on there. And then you can use it to get some range of movement. That's a pretty good ab crunch nonetheless, in my opinion. But I wish this kind of went forward a little more. And you will get, I actually just did it. You will get some paint scratches right here. So look at this right here. It scratched the paint of the actual purple piece onto the abdomen. So do be careful on that. You're probably gonna have to put like something protective on the actual piece there. It's kind of why I hate that it doesn't go that far. So unless you don't put it all the way in like that, then you should be fine. But if you go all the way in with the crunch, you're gonna get some paint scratches there from this purple piece. But in terms of the back crunch, he actually has a pretty good back crunch too. So again, this figure is already doing good in all the right places. And of course, you can swing it side to side if you wanted to. Look at that gap. Oh god, what? Of course. My apologies, sorry. So, back ab crunch, I think this is where I left off in terms of the articulation. Back crunch, sorry, is about this much, which is good. When turning it to the side, you're gonna get a big gap right here. So try not to do that, but you can definitely swivel him side to side, rock him down and back and forth if you wanted to. His diaper area is soft plastic, so you're going to get a lot of range of movement there with the legs and, of course, the torso. Now, speaking of the legs, it feels like they're drop-down legs, but not necessarily. So if I try to, so they're not drop-down legs specifically. They feel like it, but they're not. He does have the exact same flaps as the recent 3.0 figures, which do suck from time to time, but it's because they don't want to like over engineer. I think they're over engineering this because this flap is a little bit bigger than the other one, so that's an issue in my opinion. But when going for the splits, you do want to kind of tuck it under the soft plastic section, just a little. Well then, I did not expect that to happen. Wait, let me see if I can remove the leg there. That is odd. I never had that happen with any figure. What the heck? It just clicks back in, but I thought that was just like glued in for the entire thing. So weird. Wait. Okay, I got that whole thing situated. So it was literally just popping it back in. It's just it didn't want to pop back in for some reason. So you can tug in the legs underneath them and you can get some pretty good range of motion there. So if you do the exact same thing you do for any of the other 3.0 figures, you're gonna get good range of movement. So not bad there whatsoever. Now he does have a thigh swivel, so that's good for both legs too. And the knee is actually pretty freaking good. It's not bad. He actually does. You get some gaps here and there, but he looks good nonetheless. And there's no calf swivel, unfortunately. But there's a foot hinge, of course. You can get the foot about that far forward, this far backwards, and you have an ankle rocker. You can pop it out like that. I don't know if he has any. Oh, he does have any some extra feet, so it is easy to swap them out from the looks of it. Oh, it's over there. There we go. So, yeah. When it comes to kicking forward, again, he can kick about this far if you get his leg like all the way out. So, yeah. And he can kick backwards about this far if you get his leg outward that way. So, same for the other one. Kicking about forward this far. And then backwards this much. So, pretty good range of motion overall. So, I do like this figure so far. There is one more section. It's just the tail. You can like rotate it however you want. It does have veins, so yeah. But yeah, it does have the cut section, which I'm pretty sure all the other Namek Saga Friezas have. So besides full like Final Form Frieza, because he's technically both the Tournament of Power and the Namek Saga, but maybe one day we'll get a 3.0 Namek Saga Frieza. So yeah. Let's move on to the accessories for this guy, because he actually does have quite a decent amount. So let's get those out real quick. Alright, so here we have all of the accessories for Frieza, and I gotta say, he has a lot, and I'm not mad about it. I think he has enough accessories to the point where you can actually make the case that this was actually a pretty good release for Premium Bandai, which most of the time is not the case, especially nowadays. And with Dragon Ball figures too. So, we have 3 different head sculpts. We have a sort of teeth gritting face sculpt, which is just beautifully sculpted as well. Like, all of these faces are beautifully sculpted. Even the lines that are kind of like in the face going from the actual eyes downward, they're sculpted too. So there you can feel the indent there. Then we have a shouting face, which you can use for the you shall die by my hand type of ass expression. And then also a angry teeth gritting face too, where it's like, you're leaving me here, like, or something like that. You gave me your energy. And then of course the thing that made him Premium Bandai exclusive, this face sculpt for Super Saiyan Goku. And I gotta say, it looks pretty good. It actually looks pretty good. I like the detail on it. Hopefully we get more faces like these, but not in other figures, please. Now we have 2 grasping hands, or 2 kind of like, grasping hands, I would say. So pretty good looking hands overall. They have the detail and painted nails all there. Now we have 2 sets of Ki Blast shooting hands. Now there's a reason for this. These ones are the regular ones that have nothing on them, so they look good. And I was wondering why these were the exact same, because they look the same. They're the exact same, but these are for the actual Destructo discs. So, yeah. So it's fine. I don't mind it. Just they could have done another set of hands for this instead. And then we have the 12 key super from. Wait, is it the 12 key super? I think it's the 18 key super in Dokkan. So for the LR full power Frieza. So those things that just kind of push you down into the water or something like that. And of course we have the 2 different feet that are just kind of grasping or floating in the air type of feet. And of course, last but not least, the beautiful pink fuchsia Destructo disc for the evil energy type. And honestly, they look pretty darn good. They've done Destructo disc in the past, so it makes sense that they did this right. So, a lot of accessories. But I will say, leading into my final thoughts, I had completely forgotten about the actual price for this figure. And realistically, this figure is great. I don't think there is much wrong with this figure. Yes, there is some gaps here and there, especially the neck, which is the most troublesome area for this figure to just look up. You're gonna get a big gap there. But besides that, and maybe even the torso if you move it around, but I don't think it's that bad. But this figure was $85 with tax and shipping. This figure was $100 pretty much, because Premium Bandai is bullshit like that. So is it an $85 figure? I don't think so, because it's not the same quality as an $85 figure. The Super Saiyan Goku was $67. That's like $15 less, give or take. So that Goku is very valuable, nearly a perfect figure, and it's still sought after by a lot of people. This Frieza might be sought after by the people that have this Goku because they want the counterpart to the figure, but I don't think they're going to want to pay the prices of the aftermarket. This figure is probably going to go to $200 by next year maybe, because Premium Bandai releases don't normally get a re-release unless it's by popular demand every now and then, which again is not often. But I do think this figure is good for the things that he has. So for my final score for this figure, I'm gonna give this figure an 8 out of 10. The reason why I'm lowering it by 2 is not only the price, but also some of the gaps. Yeah, it's not as much of an issue for me, but I do think it's going to be an issue for some people. Although I do think that this figure does have great articulation, and you'll be able to get some amazing poses with him and Super Saiyan Goku, I don't think most people are going to want to pay the aftermarket prices for this. So that's the only downside, the big downside that I see for this figure is of how expensive he is. Even I remember paying the nearly $100 figure price when I pre-ordered this, and I was like, I kind of regret this. But at the same time, now that I have him here, do I regret it? No, not really, because now I have full power Frieza, and I don't have to wait a month from now to get one that's probably more expensive. I'm talking to you, Big Bad Toy Store, because god damn, $120 for this figure flat. That's not including shipping. You're out of your mind for that. So yeah, I think an 8 out of 10 is more than sufficient for this figure, but that is all the time I have for you guys today. I would love to know what you guys think about this figure. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think you'll get this in time before prices skyrocket? Did you already have it on pre-order and is it shipping to you? Hopefully FedEx doesn't fucking delay it 2 days from when mine was supposed to deliver. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this figure. But I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.